Alright, hi guys. Today, like I said, you will be learning on something new, different. Alright, because we have been doing numbers all this while, and it's like so boring because things that we have learned before. Okay, so today we're gonna look at something else new, right? But not entirely new, but you know lah, maths, right? Okay, we are moving into algebra again. Alright, a chapter called as variation. Right. So what is variation is basically like, we have learned that before. Okay, in year 9 we talk about direct proportion and inverse proportion. Okay, those are a kind of variation. But now, right, we are going a bit in depth, right? And our variation here now, right, is not those like y equals to x kind of situation. Okay, because that kind of variation we learned in year 9, right, we are assuming that the ratio, right, or the product, right, will give us a fixed number that is y equals to x like that. Okay, when x changes in 1, then y will also changes in 1, things like that. But in this case, in this variation part in year 10, okay, it is not as 1:1 kind of situation. All right, so we have 5 types of variation in total in maths actually. All right, we have direct, okay, variation, inverse variation, joint variation, combined variation, and partial variation. But in IGCSE, okay, we only cover 2, okay, which is direct and inverse variation. Okay, the other one, you will learn that later on, maybe if you're studying maths in A-level and things like that. All right. So, but then before we begin, all right, I want to talk about a few mathematical terms that you have to know that in variation. So first one is called as constant. Okay, constant is a quantity which is never gonna change, right, under different situation. So example, right, are like, if I say y is equals to 4. Okay, y is equals to 4, right? 4 is a constant because I don't care what is the y. If y is 3, right, y is equals to 4. I don't care what's my x actually, to be honest, not my y. So when x changes, y will be the same, right? If you draw a graph, if I'm drawing the graph out for you to see, okay, so this is my x, this is my y, okay, this is 0, okay. We know that y equals to 4 is just a horizontal line like this, right? Not this is y equals to 4, where this is 4. Okay, so you see, right, when x, let's say like, for example, here is x equals to 1, and this x equals to 4, 5, let's say. Okay, when x equals to 1, what's my y? My y is 4, correct? When x equals to 5, my y also equals to 4. It doesn't change. Right? So you see that this y, right, okay, it doesn't varies due to the change of x. Then we will say that y is just a constant. Okay, it means that it doesn't change, right, when other people change. Okay, so that is constant, first thing. Right, second thing is talking about variable. Okay, variable is the quantity that changes under different situation, right? So in this case, right, my variable will be my x, right? My y will be the constant. Okay, right? So the one that is changing one is our y, as our x. So let's say, for example, right, we learned that we somehow these kind of things, right, we have learned it before. Like for example, you have the equation y equals to 4x, right? This is a straight line equation, correct? Okay, so we know that 4 is my constant because it doesn't matter what is the x and y changing to, right? The 4 won't change. So 4 is the constant, right? And x and y are my variable because x and y are changing. As x is changing, y will also change. So x and y are the variables in this situation. Okay, right? Then third, we're talking about variation. Okay, variation is when 2 or more, okay, variables are related. The change in one variable causes the change in the other variable, right? Either it's 1 or 2 of them, okay, it's known as variation. So like I said, there are 5 types of variation, okay, so we are looking at 2 only. So we have learned that before, okay. So direct variation means that if I say direct variation means that the 2 variables are related directly, the ratio of their values is always the same, okay. That is, the variables, when the variable goes up, okay, and down in the same direction, the 2 variables goes up and down at the same direction. Okay, for example, okay, let's say I talk about the number of pay you get for working in a restaurant. Let's say you work in a restaurant, right? They pay you 1 hour for 5 ringgit. Let's say 1 hour for 5 ringgit. Okay, 5 ringgit. Okay, MYR, right? MYR, ringgit Malaysia. Okay, so let's say you work for 10 hours. How much do you get? Okay, how much of Malaysian ringgit you get? Right, it's definitely direct proportion because 1 hour you get 5. 10 hours you work, you will get 50 ringgit. So then you see the ratio. Ratio means division. So I take, let's say I take time divide by, okay, maybe not. Okay, I take the pay divide by time. Right, the pay divide by time. Ratio means divide. Ratio in maths, right? It means divide. Right? So the division between these two variables, okay, because we have two variables. One is the time, one is the price, the amount of money that you got. So let's say the pay, right, for first scenario, you have 5 over 1. So you get 5, the ratio. Okay. For the second scenario, you have 50 over 10. So 50 over 10, right, also give you 5. You see, the ratio, right, when it's direct proportion, the ratio won't change, right? It's the same. Okay. So this ratio, right, okay, we call it as constant ratio. In later on, right, this constant ratio is going to be denoted by an alphabet. We just write a letter called as K lah. But we'll look at it later on, right? So this is direct proportion. Makes sense because the more hours you work, of course, people will pay you even more. All right. So this is direct. Okay, when one increase, more hour increase, then your pay will be higher. That is direct proportion already. Right? Or you work lesser time, of course you will get lesser pay. Does that make sense? Right? That is direct. Then we have one other variation we call as inverse variation. So inverse variation, right, is when the product of their values is always the same. So the variable, when one variable goes up, the other one will go down. This is inverse. Inverse is that the variables, right, goes in different direction. Okay. For example, right, that one you have learned. Let's say, right, I have 40 loaves of bread. Okay, 40 loaves of bread. Okay, I know that these 40 loaves of breads, right, can feed 10 people. 10 people, okay, for 5 days. Let's say for 5 days. Right? So now, right, if I have 5 more people, 5 extra people, 5 people, okay, right, extra 5 people, how long can the 40 loaves of bread last? Right? So now there are 3 things in this scenario now, okay, but one thing doesn't change. So which one is the thing that doesn't change? The number of loaves of bread. So this one doesn't change because you still have 40 loaves of bread only. But now you have more people, but you do not know how long can this loaf of bread last. So this 40 loaves of bread, right, is known as our constant, right? Because it doesn't change, right? It doesn't change, okay, in our situation here. It's the same for both situations, right? The variable here is the number of people. This is my variable 1. And I also have another variable, which is the number of days that the bread can last. So these are the variables, the one that is changing in different situations. Okay, so this is definitely inverse. Because why? Because as you have more people, your food will then last shorter time. Okay, of course, obviously, but because more mouth to feed, right? Not. So this is inverse. So let's see. They just now the definition say that, alright, if it's an inverse variation, the product of their value is always the same. So let's try to see, right? 10 times 5 is the first scenario, 10 people for 5 days. So 10 times 5, right? I have 50. Okay? So now, if 15 people, how long can it last? Right? The product must be the same. So therefore, right, I will know that we learned in year 9 that when it's inverse, right, the x1, y1 equals to x2, y2. Remember this? This is the idea of it, right, for inverse. Okay, So I'm just going to put inside to find my value. So this is 10 times 5, right, equals to 15 times x, y2. I don't know what's my y2. Okay, so y2 is equals to 10 times 5 over 15. Right? So, right, you get 15, 10 times 5 is 50, 50 divided by 15, you get 50 divided by 15, you get about 3.33 days. Right? Which makes sense because as you have more people, it will take lesser time because you have more mouths to feed. Right? So this is what we learned in year 9. Alright? So we're going to recap on this thing later on, but it's not useful to us now. Okay? So there is a few things that you have to know also, right? There are constant ratio and constant product in both the variation are often denoted as K, right? Of course, you can use whatever letter you want, but here, right, we usually use K lah to denote the constant ratio, constant product. Okay? So, but K cannot be 0, right? If K equals 0, it means that it is a constant already. This is the idea of it. If K equals 0 means that there is no variation at all, right? Then it's going to be a constant. Okay, it doesn't be affected by anyone at all, right? So then we also have another symbol that you have to memorize. All right, it looks a fish like that one. Okay, this is called as proportionality. Okay, in which the symbol will just be like this, right? It resembles proportionality, right? So it can be denoted by inverse or direct proportionality. Okay, we will look at it later on, how we use this one. Okay, so however, you have to bear in mind that, okay, even though in many situations, somehow one way or another way, okay, one variable is going to be related to another variable. Okay, there's a variation, but there are certain things in life there is no variation at all, right? Certain things lah. But like for example, age and height, and age and weights lah, right? Of course, in the beginning of our life, right, weight and age, right, might be a direct. There might be a certain relationship, okay, a direct relationship and so on. But after a certain period of time, okay, they might not, okay, be that case anymore, right? Because we can have a young kid that is 3 years old but is as fat as us, right? Okay, or we can have, you know, a young kid like 10, 12 years old but is as tall as someone that is like 27 years old, right? So these kind of things, right, doesn't show variation in one way, right? So certain things in life, there's still no variation. Okay, right? So there are two variation. This one direct variation and one is inverse variation. And now we're going to look at how we can apply this information in solving our year 10 problem. So now, let's look at the direct variation first. So direct variation, okay, in year 9, we learned the simple direct variation, right? Simple direct proportion. We learned that, okay, when it's direct proportion, the ratio of the scenarios will be the same, in which we learn x1 over y1 is equals to x2 over y2. If you still recall, this is our formula for direct proportion. Correct? Okay, so there are two variables in this scenario. Okay, you see, a restaurant owner pay a worker 540 to work 15 hours. Calculate the amount of money earned by the worker who worked 27 hours. This is definitely direct proportion. Like I said, the more hour you spend in your workplace, of course, you will get more pay. But there are two variables here. The two variables are x and y. There are, one is the hours, right? One is the pay. Okay, so I need to define it first, otherwise people will not know what is x, what is y. Okay, so I want to make things simpler here. This is going to be my y1, right, the pay, and this is going to be my x1, which is the number of hours that I work. Okay, then calculate the amount of money. This is my y2. I do not know how much I will earn in the second part, but I know that now I'm working in 27 hours. So that's my x2. So because it's direct proportion, we learned in year 9, we will do x1 over y1. So 15 over 540 equals to x2, which is 27 over y2, which is y2. We do not know how much is the pay. Okay, then we will do cross multiplication, right? And okay, if you can, okay, I don't want to skip step later, some people don't know. 27 times 540, right? Because cross multiply, okay, it means that some people might not know, okay, right? I multiply up, okay, it becomes like this. So therefore, y2, right, the amount of pay that I will should get is 27 times 540 divided by 15. So I will get 27 times 540 divided by 15. I'll get 972 pounds for my pay when I work 27 hours. Can? Alright, of course, makes sense, but 15 hours you get 540. Of course, 27 hours is almost double. You should get about almost double of your price. Okay? Right. But now the problem is in year 10, okay, your variation, right, is not, like I say, is not y equals to x scenario. It's not like the constant is exactly equals to the number, both of them the same, right? The variation might have a different factors already, okay? So in this case, right, okay, we want to look at, they say y varies directly as x squared. I cannot write as x squared over y equals to x squared over y, because like I say, their variation, right, the constant here now is not the same in this case, but there is a different factor. The variation here, right, the factor are the same for our year 9 question, but the factor here, right, the k here is not the same. Okay, so therefore, right, for this kind of question, you have no choice, right, but to write like this. Okay, so they say y varies directly as x squared. So I will write y is directly proportional to x squared. That's why you see the word, the alpha, right, the symbol, it indicates, right, that y and x squared are directly proportional, right? This is directly proportional, this is proportionality. Okay, so if directly, then I just write y equals to alpha, the proportionality sign, x squared. Okay, so then, right, but proportionality cannot be solved, ma. So I need to change this proportionality, right, into equal sign. So therefore, when I change to equal sign, right, this symbol, right, will become kx squared. That y and x squared now are related by itself, okay, with the constant k, a ratio, okay, a constant ratio, a constant, which I do not know what's my ratio. It could be 5, it could be 1 over 5 and things like that. Okay, so later I'll show you why it's like that in the previous question here. Okay, so then, right, this is my equation now. Okay, this is important. If in exam you don't want to write this one, it's okay, but I just want to show you the proportionality only, right? This is what you need to know. Whenever it's direct proportion, you will just write y equals to k x squared, because they are directly proportional. Okay, now the problem now is that I need to know what is my k. That's why the information given to us is sufficient for us to find the value of k. So I'm going to plug in the value, substitute value into this equation that I just wrote. Okay, so y now is 48 equals to k times 4 squared. Right? So k, right, is equivalent to 48 divided by 16. So you get 3. Okay, your k is 3. So your equation now, right, will become y equals to 3x squared. That's what they want to do, right? The first question wants you to find y in terms of x, y in terms of x, but there is no k. You need to find out the constant k first. Otherwise, you won't be able to solve it. Alright? Can? Okay, now. Then, right, they say, hence find the value of y when x equals to 2. So you have to put inside. Now your equation has become this one. Right? So when x equals to 2, you put 3 bracket 2 square right into it, and you will get 3 times 4 equals to 12. This is the answer. When x equals to 2, y equals to 12. Alright? So if you look at this, look back at this question round, right? Okay, we know that, right, there are 2 variables here. One is x, one is y, and I know that they are directly proportional. So I'm going to write it as y is directly proportional to x. Okay, we know that as number of hours increases, your pay will be increasing. So that's why y is directly proportional to x. So in this case, I'll write is at x, kx, right? Direct proportional, right? Not. So then I plug in my value, the full value that I have. You see, I have 540, 15. So that's why it's 540 equals to k 15. So k now, right, is equivalent to 540 divided by 15. So you have 36. Your k is 36, right? So it's that. So your equation now will become y equals to 36x. Okay, not? Now, the question now they want to find, calculate the amount of money earned by a worker who worked 27 hours. Okay, so who worked 27 hours, your x now is 27, so y equals to 36 times 27. Right, in which going to give you 36 times 27, you will get 972 also. It's the same. Alright, but this method now, okay, is only for simple direct proportion. Can? Alright, because later on, right, when we do joint, in future you learn joint proportionality, right, this formula cannot be used anymore. Right, that's why we need to learn how to use this method. Of course, right, if you think about it, right, why can't I use this formula, right? I alter this formula, okay, to cater to my question here, this question here, right? So we learned that in year 9, so let's cater that, okay? You see, it's going to be x1 over y1 equals to x2 over y2, right? But now, right, my y varies as x squared. So I'm going to write it as x1 square over y1 equals to x2 square over y2. Correct? Then I plug in my value. They say x equals to 4, y equals to 48. So I put inside. X equals to 4, so 4 square over 48 equivalent to x2 is going to be this question here. So x2 is x equals 2, so it's 2 square over y square. Okay, y2 square, y2 square. Then I do cross multiply. Okay, I'll get 16y2 square. Y2 square, y2 only, sorry. Right, y2. Okay, equivalent to 4 times 48. That's why y2 equals to 4 times 48 divided by 16. I'll still get 12 in the end. Answer is the same, right? Answer is the same, right? But the thing is that, okay, this is applicable when we only have like one direction, right? Either direct or inverse. But like I said, in the future, you might meet with joint, combined or partial. So it might be a bit difficult to use this method like that. So let's learn new things, all right? Learn new method, right? We need to write it in this form first, then find the value of k, then form our own equation, then plug in the value. All right? Can? Okay, so let's try another one more question. Okay, then yeah, we will leave it for you to try yourself. Right, let's look at this one. Okay, y is directly proportional to the square of x. So when x equals to 3, y equals to 4. So we say proportional, direct proportional to square of x. I will know that y is equals to kx squared, direct proportion. Okay, kx squared. Then, right, I know that x equals to 3, y equals to 4. So I put inside 4k 3 squared. So k equals to 4 over 9. Right? So your y now has become 4 over 9 of x squared. Oh, yeah. Can? Okay. So they want to find the value of y when x equals to 2 now. Right? So you have 16 over 9. Okay. You can leave your answer like that, no problem. Can? Right? So, yeah. This is the answer. Okay? Right? So, if you want to skip the video, right, to inverse, you may, right? But if you want to go on, you can pause the video, try question number 4, and then, okay, you can check your answer here, right? So I'm going to do the question 4, okay, quietly, okay? Then you have to, yeah, check your answer. So let's see. now we're looking at inverse proportion. Okay, so in year 9, all right, we also learn about inverse invariation. Okay, just to recap the formula in year 9, when we learn about inverse, okay, I teach you this formula, all right, equals to x2 y2, right? Because the definition says so. The definition say that the product are constant. Okay, so that's why it's x1 y1 equals to x2 y2. Okay, just now the direct one is x1 over y1 equals to x2 over y2 because they are constant, the ratio are constant. Okay, so in this case, you see, okay, we also have two variables. One is the number of workers, the other one is the number of days. So how long will it take for 6 workers to complete the same project? So we have two variables here. I'm going to let x1, okay, equals to the number of workers. Right, I don't write x1, x, okay, sorry, x. Okay, where my another variable is y, the number of days. Right, so number of workers, okay, this one is my x1. Okay, the number of days, this one is my y1. Right, so now I have x2. I want to know how long does it take. This is my y2. Okay, so because it's inverse, we know that because as longer, more people involved, then you have lesser days you require. If lesser people, you need a longer day, right, to complete your work. So you have this inverse, so I'm going to put inside. So 4 times 3, right, equivalent to 6 times y2. So that's why y2 is equivalent to 4 times 3 divided by 6. So you have 2, right? So 4 times 3 divided by 6, you have 2 days, right? You need 2 days to complete the work. Okay, right? This is what we learned in year 9. So we are, of course, this formula, right, comes from where we want to learn today, but we are looking at proportionality now. So let's get the idea right, okay, that original idea there, okay? So for in direct proportion, I told you that we will just write y, okay, the fish thing, right, with the variable, the other variable. But now because of the inverse proportion, right, we will not write like what we wrote in direct proportion, and the symbol is still be the same, proportionality. But because it's inversely proportion, we know that our variable now are related such that, okay, their proportion such that it is y inversely proportion, okay, to 1 over x plus 2. Proportion to 1 over x plus 2. So whenever it's inverse, we will write it as 1 over x plus 2, the other variable. So when we equate the thing, right, it will become y equals to k over x plus 2. Right, because it's inverse, so it's division already. So this one you don't write is okay. Like I say, okay, I just want to introduce you to you the symbol, right? Every time I have inverse, we will write in this form: y equals to k over x plus 2. But if let's say it's direct, right? Okay, like I say, we will straight away write like that: y equals to kx. It's no, there's no division at all. Okay, so it's gonna be straight away like that if it's inverse. Then we plug in again. So y is equivalent to y is 4 when x is 3. So y is 4 equals to k over x is 3, so 3 plus 2, given full information. So k is equals to 4 times 5, so equals to 20. So that's why your equation now become y equals to 20 over x plus 2. This is my answer. They want you to write an equation, right, of y in terms of x. So this is your answer. Okay, but it's already in fraction form because it's inverse proportion. Direct is just multiply only. Okay, right? So with that answer that we get, all right, we want to solve this question here. They want to find, hence find the value of y when x equals to 8. So we just plug in lah. So our equation is this one: y equals to 20 over x plus 2. So x is 8 now. So I'm going to put inside, so equals to 20 over 8 plus 2 is equals to 20 over 10, which is 2. That's the answer. Can? Alright, so we get the idea right. Okay, we're going to use this method then rather than this method. This is year 9, we're already done with that. Okay, it's too generalized. What if whenever we have join one, it might not be useful to us anymore. Okay, so now y is inversely proportional to x squared. So y is inversely proportional, so k over x squared. This is my writing here. Okay, so they give us a full formula, so we just go and plug in, alright? So y is 4, k over 3 square. So k is equals to 4 times 9, so equals to 36. Right, 9 because it's 3 square, so it's 9, you bring over and times. So your equation now become y equals to 36 over x squared. They want to find the value of y when x equals to 10. So I put inside, so y equals to 36 over 10 squared. This is going to give me 36 over 100, okay, which is going to give me 0.36. Okay, alright, this is a full exam question. This is how exam will ask, alright. Usually in this kind of question in IG, they will come out, there will be 3 marks, right? So how do they give you marks actually in this scenario? They're actually giving you 1 mark for this, for being able to write a relationship between your x and your y, right? Then, okay, you are able to plug in the correct value into your formula, right? So this is going to give you 1 mark, your method marks. Then your answer, they will give you another 1 mark. So it's 3 marks. That's why I say it's important, right, for you to use this method in somehow in a one way, right? Well, of course, the marking scheme stated a lot of different way, but I find that this is the one of the most easiest to follow, right? So for inverse, you write division, find the value of k as usual, then you have your formula, plug into your formula to find what you want. Okay, right? So yeah. So the next question, okay, if you want to continue with the worksheet, you can. If you want to check later on, you can just continue watching to check on the question. So now what happened is that they are giving us this question. Okay, let me forward you. Okay, now they're giving me this question, right? I want to solve it. They say m is inversely proportional to the square root of n. So m is inversely proportional, so k over the square root of n. That's my form. That's my writing here. Okay, so when n equals to 2500, m equals to 5. So 5 is equals to k over square root of 2500. Okay, so k is equivalent to 5 times square root of 2500. Okay, I have 250. That's my k. So my formula, right, of m is equals to 250 over square root of n. Can? Right? So this is my answer.